At dinner, she said, "I'm engaged to your best friend. We've been together for a while now." The whole table went silent. All eyes on me, waiting for the explosion. I didn't say a word. I just unlocked my phone under the table, pulled up a single photo, and airdropped it to him. My girlfriend's name was Amelia, and my best friend's name was Liam. For the last 4 years, I thought my life was set. A good job, a beautiful woman I loved, and a friend I'd known since we were kids. The truth was, I had none of those things. What I had was a ticking time bomb. For the last 6 weeks, I'd been carefully dismantling it, so that when it finally went off, I'd be the only one walking away unharmed. The first crack in the foundation appeared about 2 months ago. Amelia started changing. My Amelia had been down-to-earth and happy with a pizza and movie night. This new Amelia was obsessed with status. Suddenly, she needed to be seen at the right art galleries, the trendiest restaurants, the exclusive charity events. Our weekends, once for us, became a social calendar I never had a part in creating. When I asked, she'd wave a dismissive hand. "It's for my career, Ethan. It's networking. You wouldn't understand." Then came the gifts. A designer handbag she said she'd gotten on a deep discount. A pair of shoes that cost more than my monthly car payment that she claimed was from a client. Her stories were always plausible. Just plausible enough to make me feel like a jerk for questioning them. Liam, my best friend, was her biggest cheerleader. He'd be over for a game and gush about her ambition. "She's going places, man," he'd say, clapping me on the back. "You're lucky you have a woman with that kind of drive." I see now he wasn't just cheering her on. He was scouting the competition. The real alarm bell went off 6 weeks ago. It wasn't one thing, but a string of deliberate changes. She started guarding her phone like it held state secrets, angling the screen away and taking calls in the other room. Then her laptop conveniently died before a big project. She asked to use our shared home office computer for a few weeks. As a programmer, I knew my way around a machine. I told her I'd set up a fresh user profile, so she wouldn't have to worry about any of my files. That was the opening I needed. Before I created her profile, I installed a discrete keylogger and remote viewing software. It felt like a massive violation of trust, but my gut screamed that the trust was already gone. I was only looking for confirmation. I didn't have to wait long. The first night, she used the computer I watched from my laptop in the other room. She logged into a secret email account, and I read messages between her and Liam. They weren't just flirting, they were planning a life together and mocking me, my job, my lack of ambition. They talked about the perfect moment to tell me, so I'd be too stunned to react. Then I saw messages to a man named Julian Croft. A quick search showed he was a real estate mogul in his late 50s, married and incredibly wealthy. The messages to him were different, a calculated mix of flattery and promises. She was playing a much bigger, more dangerous game than I'd imagined. Liam wasn't the end game. He was the publicly acceptable upgrade until she could secure the real prize. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. My best friend, the woman I lived with, anger came, but it quickly cooled into a cold, calculating focus. They thought they were clever. They thought I was a fool who wouldn't notice. I decided then I wouldn't just confront them. I would let them build their fantasy and then burn it to the ground. This wouldn't be a messy breakup. It would be a controlled demolition that I kept monitoring her, gathering ammunition. I saw hotel bookings for business trips her company never sanctioned, all paid for by Julian. I saw online shopping receipts for the gifts from clients. The final piece fell into place a week ago. She told me she had to go to a tech conference in a nearby city. My software told a different story. A reservation at a 5-star boutique hotel under Julian's name and a flight confirmation to a private airstrip near his coastal estate. This was my chance. I knew from his social media that Julian liked sailing and had a favorite harbor town restaurant. I took 2 days off work, told Amelia I was visiting my sick uncle, and drove 4 hours there. I sat at a cafe across from that restaurant for 7 hours waiting. Then I saw them. Julian and Amelia walking out laughing, his arm around her, her looking up at him with the same fake adoration she'd once given me. He wore a very distinctive custom-made watch I'd noted from his profiles. I zoomed in and took one perfect, clear photo. Amelia, Julian, and his unmistakable watch, all in one frame that I had my weapon. Amelia and Liam were growing bolder and careless. The final act was set in motion when Liam called on Monday. He wanted a celebratory dinner Friday. He said he had big news and suggested their new favorite fancy restaurant. He told me to invite Amelia. Of course, IT was all so painfully transparent. This was it, the night they planned their grand announcement. I understood their motivation perfectly. They didn't just want to break up with me. They wanted to humiliate me. They saw me as a passive, simple guy who'd be too embarrassed to cause a scene. By announcing their engagement in front of our friends, they could control the narrative, paint me as the guy who got left behind, the guy who couldn't keep up. It was a power play, and I was happy to let them think they were in control. That I spent the next 4 days preparing. I opened a new bank account and moved all my savings out of a joint account, leaving only a few hundred. I contacted a lawyer and had him draft a formal eviction notice since Amelia's name wasn't on the deed to my house. I packed every last shoe and handbag of hers into boxes and had a moving company place them into a storage unit. First month paid. By Friday morning, every trace of her was gone from my home. The only thing left was the single photo on my phone. That night at the restaurant, the atmosphere was thick with attention only I understood. Amelia and Liam were practically glowing, exchanging secret smiles and touches under the table. They thought they were the masters of this universe, holding all the cards. They ordered the most expensive bottle of champagne. After the main course, Amelia stood up. She tapped her glass with a spoon, a smug, radiant smile on her face. "Hi, everyone," she began, voice full of fake emotion. "I just want to say thank you for being here. This last year has been one of incredible growth for me, and I've had to make some difficult decisions to follow my heart and find my true happiness." She glanced at me, a flicker of pity in her eyes. It was all part of the performance. Sometimes you realize the life you have isn't the life you're destined for. And I am so happy to say I found the person I'm destined to be with. She turned to Liam, eyes shining. Liam and I have been seeing each other for the past few months. And tonight, I'm thrilled to announce that we're engaged. The friends at the table, clearly in on the surprise, erupted in applause. They all turned to me, faces a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity, waiting for me to break down. I didn't. I just smiled. I looked at Liam, my best friend, the man who just stolen my life, and gave him a slow, knowing nod. Then I looked at my phone. I selected the photo I'd taken a week earlier. Amelia and Julian with his custom watch gleaming in the sunlight. I selected Liam's name in my contacts and hit send on AirDrop. That a moment later Liam's phone chimed. He glanced at it, annoyed at first. Then his eyes widened. He went completely still. The color drained from his face. He looked from a phone to Amelia and then to me. In my eyes he saw not anger, but cold, hard finality. He finally understood. He wasn't the winner. Just another pawn in her game. That he stood up, his chair scraping the floor. The restaurant went quiet. "When was this picture taken?" he asked Amelia, voice dangerously low. She stammered, trying to see his phone. "What picture, baby? What's wrong?" "This picture," he roared, thrusting the phone at her. "With Julian Croft? This was taken last Saturday. You told me you were visiting your sick aunt in the countryside. You used my credit card to book the hotel." The color drained from Amelia's face. She was trapped. There was no lie big enough to get her out. The friends at the table stared, jaws hanging open. "We're done," Liam said, his voice shaking with fury. He pulled the brand new engagement ring from his pocket and threw it on the floor. "You are the most conniving, deceitful person I have ever met. You were playing us both." He looked at me, a flicker of shame in his eyes. "He knew," he said to the table. "He knew this whole time." He threw a few hundred bills on the table to cover his share of the meal, then turned and walked out without looking back. Amelia sat there, completely exposed. Her perfect announcement, her grand victory, a public execution. I calmly took out my wallet, paid my share of the bill, and stood. "Well," I said into the stunned silence, "this has been an eventful evening." Then I walked out, leaving her at the center of the wreckage. Back home in my quiet, clean apartment, I blocked her number, Liam's number, and the numbers of all the friends who'd been in on it. The silence was wonderful. An hour later, pounding started at my door. She was on my doorbell camera, a mess of tears and rage. "Ethan, open this door. We need to talk." I watched the feed with a strange detachment. After a few minutes of her screaming my name, I spoke through the intercom. "There's nothing to talk about. Amelia, we're done." Her tone changed instantly. The anger vanished, replaced by a desperate sob. "No, baby. No. I loved you. It was always you. Liam was a mistake. Julian was nothing. Please let me in. I have nowhere to go." "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "Your belongings are in a storage unit. The key and the address have been sent to your parents' house via overnight courier. If you want this tightened further, made more emotional, or shortened for punch, tell me which direction and I'll do a light rewrite. They should arrive tomorrow morning." She just stared at the camera, mouth opening and closing. The idea that I'd been so many steps ahead of her seemed impossible for her to process. Then she started screaming again, a raw, primal sound of pure frustration. She screamed that she hated me, that she had never loved me, that I had ruined her life. I turned off the intercom and went to the kitchen to pour myself a drink, that I had one last move to make. I found Julian Croft's wife on social media. Her profile was public. From a newly created anonymous account, I sent her the same photo I'd sent Liam with a simple caption, "Your husband last Saturday. Thought you should know." The next morning I got a call from an unknown number. It was Amelia's father. His tone wasn't angry, it was defeated. He said the courier had just arrived with the storage unit key. He told me Amelia had shown up at their house in the middle of the night, hysterical, spinning some twisted version of the story where I was the villain. After getting the key, they'd had a chance to compare stories and realized my side was closer to the truth. They'd given her an ultimatum: get a real job and start therapy, or you're on your own. The bank of mom and dad was closed. That was the first domino. The second fell 2 days later. Julian Croft's wife, Eleanor, was not the type to sit quietly. She didn't reply to my anonymous message. Instead, I got an email to my work address from her personal assistant requesting a brief, confidential call. I agreed. Eleanor was polite, cold, and efficient. She'd clearly done her homework on me. She thanked me for the information and asked if I had more. I forwarded a selection of the key-logged evidence, hotel receipts in Julian's name, and screenshots of Amelia's shopping sprees on his dime. I didn't ask for anything in return. Helping her was its own reward. The fallout was spectacular. Within a week, the Crofts' impending, very public divorce broke. Armed with my evidence, Eleanor cleaned him out. But she wasn't just after his money. She was a majority shareholder in a rival company and used the scandal to orchestrate a hostile takeover of a subsidiary Julian had been building for years. She didn't just divorce him, she professionally crippled him. Julian, engulfed in legal and financial chaos, ghosted Amelia. Her golden ticket was gone. Meanwhile, Amelia launched a smear campaign against me. It was weak and desperate. She told our old friends I was a possessive monster who'd used a Photoshop picture to drive a wedge between her and Liam because I couldn't stand to see her happy. It might have worked if Liam hadn't been on a scorched earth campaign of his own. He called me about a week after the dinner. He sounded terrible. He didn't apologize for the affair. He wasn't that kind of man, but he did apologize for underestimating me. He told me he'd gone into our old group chat and laid out the entire truth. The months of lying, the planning, Amelia's other affair with Julian. He did it to save his own reputation, not to help me. But the result was the same. He ended the call by saying, "She's a sociopath, man. You're lucky to be rid of her." He moved to another state a month later. Amelia was now radioactive. She had no boyfriend, no fiancé, no wealthy benefactor. Her parents kept her at arm's length, and most of our friends sided with me or Liam. She became a social pariah. That's when the final, pathetic phase began. About a month after the dinner, I received a formal-looking letter. Amelia was demanding financial support. She claimed our 4-year relationship constituted a common-law marriage and that she was entitled to half my assets, including part of my house. She also sued for emotional distress, accusing me of publicly humiliating her. That I laughed and forwarded it to the lawyer I'd already consulted. His response was a work of art. One page stating our state, did not recognize common law marriage. A copy of the deed proving the house was solely in my name and purchased before I'd met her, and the formal eviction notice. The final paragraph was my favorite. It warned that if she pursued a frivolous lawsuit, my legal team would subpoena witnesses about her infidelity, including Mr. Liam Lass and Mr. Julian Croft. It noted Mr. Croft's very public divorce might make him an unwilling participant, but that his testimony regarding their financial arrangements would be highly relevant.